Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk more about the money game, which is one of the three non-negotiable games in life that we all have no choice but to play. There is obviously a ginormous difference between a life chasing money and a life chasing fulfillment. When we haven't disconnected our emotional bank accounts from our financial bank accounts, even when we get more money, we're still unhappy. Wayne Dyer said, prosperity in the form of wealth works exactly the same as everything else. You will see it coming into your life when you are unattached to needing it. We can never achieve fulfillment running on the track of achievement. And often we discover that there is no finish line unless we have gratitude. Scarcity and gratitude cannot coexist energetically in the same thought. So it's always going to be one or the other. If our minds are like compass needles and they can only point in one direction at a time, if we are focused on scarcity or lack, then the universe will mirror that perception right back at us. That's its job, and it's very good at its job. But what we can do is to get into the habit of consistently concentrating on being grateful rather than focusing on scarcity, which is triggered by fear, loss, and the perception of lack. Most of us are walking around as tuning forks, specifically tuned to poverty or scarcity. If you look at matter under a microscope, it doesn't matter what kind of matter, it is constantly vibrating. The human body, for example, operates at a resonant frequency of about 77 megahertz. Everything has a frequency, even and including our thoughts. We broadcast and send out our energetic messages into the universe unconsciously. We don't even know we're doing it. Yet, in that sense, we are masters of harmonics. I just happen to have a tuning fork handy. I have the best props, don't you think? Now, if I were to take this tuning fork and walk into a room filled with hundreds of other tuning forks and hit it with a mallet, just like this, what would happen? Some of you already know the answer because you're a smart lot. The answer is that any tuning forks present in that room that are tuned to the same key of my tuning fork would automatically start to vibrate because they are at the same resonance. When we focus on what's not there, the same thing happens. So if we are vibrating at scarcity, what has to show up? More evidence of scarcity, of course. Keeping that in mind, if we want to become wealthy, what needs to happen first? We need to start vibrating at a wealthy frequency. We cannot get wealthy before we become wealthy. Yeah, I know that sounds strange, so I'll say it again. We cannot get wealthy before we become wealthy. You see, when we tune in and tap into gratitude and become grateful for what we already have, the power of our perception changes what we have into enough. It changes it from being not enough, a place of lack, into being more than enough, a place of abundance. Ramez Sasson says, prosperity and abundance start in the mind. If you feel and believe that they are part of your life, soon they will be. The financial audit exercise I mentioned in my last video is a key place to start making these internal changes. I sincerely cannot stress enough how important this exercise is to your future wealthy self. But today, I wanted to share the first of two simple, easy ways to short circuit those thoughts of lack and our unintentional focus on poverty. The first one I'll call the post-dated check. Imagine for a moment, if you will, someone, it doesn't matter who, handed you a post-dated check for $50 million. And the only condition The only condition to you being able to deposit and cash that check is that you had to wait a certain amount of time before you could negotiate it, because that check itself is post-dated at least 6 months or more down the road. Also imagine that your current financial bank account balance is pretty low. In fact, it might just be at zero. But just hold that check in your hands and tune into what that would feel like. Soak that in. Put yourself mentally in that environment and emotionally. Let that feeling of relief, happiness, and gratitude resonate in every cell of your body. Would you be worried or stressed out if you couldn't pay a few bills in the next few months, knowing that you had this check waiting for you? No, you wouldn't. That fear would cease to exist instantaneously for you. So, what we're going to do instead is, in our imagination, we're going to fold up that check and we're going to put it in our back pocket. That's where you're going to keep it. And every time you find yourself thinking thoughts of lack, of scarcity, or poverty, make a point of remembering that this check is waiting for you in your back pocket. You can take it out and look at it anytime you want. It's that simple and easy to short-circuit your fear and to raise your frequency into gratitude, which is where you need to be in order to tune into abundance. Tanya Yeager says, celebrate feelings of abundance within you so that you can experience the physical manifestation of prosperity now. You must consciously disbelieve your physical sense data, and you do this by changing your thinking, by changing your mindset. If you've watched any of my previous videos, this is another common but very important message. Outer world follows inner world. Change your thoughts, and your physical environment has no choice but to follow. And while the universe is nothing but a mirror for us, it is often a slow mirror. So we're going to have to actively work at maintaining higher vibrations in our thoughts, emotions, and actions over a period of time to allow the universe to catch up with the frequency of where we're vibrating at in our internal landscapes. If we keep at it long enough, our outer world will change. Some of you already understand or are beginning to understand that this is part of manifesting. Remember when I said you cannot get wealthy before you become wealthy? That means that we must not only believe we are already currently wealthy, but we must feel it too. We must practice living our lives from a place of gratitude, for in doing so, it makes what we have enough and allows us to live in abundance. Eric Butterworth says, prosperity is a way of living and thinking, and not just money or things. Poverty is a way of living and thinking, and not just a lack of money or things. Other descriptions of abundance are, of course, having more than you need. Abundance itself can also be another word for wealth. So the next time you're feeling fearful, worried, stressed out, or anxious about having to pay a bill, or what the current balance of your financial bank account is, remember that post-dated check. Live in the feeling of gratitude and abundance long enough, and your world will change to match it. I'll share the second technique in next week's video, so stay tuned. And in the meantime, I'll leave you with one last quote by Oprah Winfrey, who said, be thankful for what you have. You'll end up with more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough. Until next time, thanks for watching.